Welcome to Module 5, Adequate Nutrition Part 2. Forgive my slide here, that's not up to date. Micronutrients. What are micronutrients? They are nutrients found in your body in smaller amounts. These are kind of broken into two different sections, vitamins and then minerals. I'm not going to pretend I know the complex chemistry behind all this. But a lot of these will need to either be supplemented or very closely just monitored. This is why I really highly suggest having an app like Chronometer to see where are we deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. The vitamins can be broken down into two separate sections, water soluble and fat soluble. So water soluble, you're more likely than fat soluble to be deficient because these are actually excreted in the urine. These don't really build up in the body. But at the same time, they're also less likely to lead to toxicity if we supplement. So this is why I don't typically recommend just a generic multivitamin, because the fat-soluble vitamins, they store up in the body. So a lot of really cheap multivitamins, what they do is they load up on all the vitamins, which you think would be really good. But you could actually have toxicity of certain fat-soluble vitamins within the body when you are supplementing. So we'll get to this in the recommended supplementation section of this kind of video course, but I don't recommend supplementing fat-soluble. So again, fat-soluble, stored in the body, more likely to lead to toxicity if supplemented and getting too much. Water soluble, if you get too much, you pee it out, but it also doesn't store in the body, so you're more likely to be deficient. Minerals can be, there are so many minerals, not even Chronometer tracks all of them. So you could get blood work for these. You could also take multi-minerals. I've kind of just broken them down into other and electrolytes. So electrolytes will be kind of the big ones to pay attention to. And then there are a few other minerals that we'll kind of highlight. So we'll start off with the water-soluble vitamins. These are the B vitamins and vitamin C. There are numerous B vitamins. There are not 12, even though it goes up to 12. They've taken some away. You can kind of do some deep dives on that. And I'm going to give just a very general overview of the B vitamins as a whole. People who are really into this are going to hate me, but I'm not an expert on B vitamins. You could talk to your doctor about that. I personally just take a B complex plus vitamin C supplement just to kind of hit my B vitamins. They help with carbohydrate metabolism, nerve function, red blood cell forming, DNA repair and synthesis, and a lot of them help with energy. So if you're very low on energy, it could be because you're B vitamin deficient. Sources, again, we'll go through these sources list. A big thing to note with all these foods, it could be very overwhelming looking at all these food sources, but a good thing to kind of just take from all this is have a diverse selection of food sources. Have some nuts, have some fruits and veggies, have some meats if you're not vegan or vegetarian. Sources: dairy, fish, legumes, nuts, seeds, fortified foods, meat, eggs, leafy greens, grains. And we're not going to get too scared about the deficiency symptoms, but one of the big ones to pay attention to is fatigue is very common with B vitamin deficiency. Diarrhea, nausea, depression may be a bit more of a common one as well. Anemia, nerve issues, fatigue, hair loss, cognitive decline. So yeah, if you're feeling really tired, not a lot of energy, some brain fog, really I would highly suggest a B vitamin plus C complex. Moving on to the second one, vitamin C. Collagen synthesis, antioxidant, enhances iron absorption, immune support is probably what it's most known for. And this is found mostly in citrus fruits, berries, tomatoes, peppers. Deficiency symptoms, scurvy. This is probably the one we're most commonly commonly referring to as deficient, and most of us are not deficient in this. Bleeding gums, fatigue, poor wound healing are the symptoms of scurvy, vitamin C deficiency. But again, lots of people, it's really easy to supplement these because if you get too much of it, you often just pee them out. Moving on to our fat soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. Vitamin A helps with vision, especially night vision. This is one that I realized I was probably deficient in, and then I checked my chronometer, and sure enough, I hadn't had vitamin A in a while, and I noticed because I was kind of having trouble seeing at night. Immune function, skin and cell growth. Again, I had very poor wound healing at the same time. Some sources are liver and dairy, and then just kind of orange vegetables. You'll notice a theme with a lot of these vitamins. Vitamin A, a lot of orange vegetables, and even fruits. Cantaloupe has vitamin A, but my favorites are carrots, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, and then dark leafy greens. I do a lot of carrots, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, and stuff like baking. Deficiency symptoms: night blindness, poor vision, dry eyes or skin, and poor immunity. Vitamin D, one that a lot of people actually are deficient in, and it's hard to actually over consume vitamin D unless you're taking like 10 times the amount recommended. I recommended D3 plus K2 as one of my highly recommended supplements. Vitamin D actually functions less like a vitamin and more like a hormone. I'm not going to get too into that in this video. There are some way better videos on YouTube you can watch, but it has so many functions within the body: calcium absorption and regulation, bone health, muscle contractions, immune regulation, inflammation control. It is huge, and especially if you're on the West Coast, you're maybe not getting enough vitamin D because some of the sources are sunlight is actually probably the best source. I moved recently to Alberta where there's a lot more sunlight, and I noticed a huge difference immediately. Even though I supplement with D3 and K2, sunlight just seems to be the best source for me personally. Fortified dairy, and then fatty fish. Deficiency: rickets, osteomyelitis, bone pain, and muscle weakness. Often depression too can be a symptom. Just feeling really low. A lot of people should and are recommended to supplement vitamin D. Moving on to vitamin E, this one's probably most known for skin and tissue health, but it also is an antioxidant, helps with immune support, cardiovascular protection. It's in nuts, seeds, vegetable oils, green vegetables, fortified foods, and salmon. Deficiency: nerve and muscle damage, poor immunity, maybe poor wound healing, dry skin, high LDL cholesterol. You could do deep dive on vitamin E if you want. Vitamin K, there's two types. There's one that's found in leafy greens and broccoli, and then K2 is a bit harder to come by because it's only typically in fermented vegetables, and a lot of diets don't have a ton of fermented vegetables. Lately, I've fallen in love with shawarma, which has a lot of pickled things, fermented veggies. So I've been having lots of that lately, but I still supplement vitamin D3 plus K2. Vitamin K is involved in blood clotting, bone health, which, if you notice, D is also in bone health. So that's why these work together really well. Cardiovascular protection, and some deficiency symptoms are excessive bleeding and bruising, bone weakness, cardiovascular calcification. So that's what we don't want. That's why D3 and K2 work really well together. They kind of help mitigate calcium being stored where it shouldn't be stored, like in the arteries. We want it stored in our bones, helping it be really strong. Which moves us to our electrolytes, our minerals section of this. And again, this could be very overwhelming, but if we track in something like Chronometer, it is far less overwhelming. They keep track of it for us. They'll help us know where we are deficient and getting lots. So Electrolytes, calcium, dairy, greens, nuts, seeds, fortified foods. As you start weightlifting, as you start increasing your protein, I doubt you will be, unless you're maybe a vegan, you are probably not going to be low on calcium. What you may need to pay attention to is magnesium because they need to be in balance. Their functions, most known for bone and teeth formation, but also muscle contraction, which is why we need to balance it with magnesium because it's a muscle relaxant, muscle relaxation. So you might have, if you have too much calcium, you might actually have some tendon pain. You might get twitches in the night or spasms, and that could either be too much calcium or not enough magnesium or both. Magnesium is also an enzyme cofactor, and it's found in nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, and greens. Sodium and potassium, again, these are all electrolytes, helping us balance water as well. Sodium and potassium need to be in the same way that calcium, magnesium function with the contraction and relaxation of muscles, sodium and potassium do the same with nerve impulses. So that's why, and with fluid balance. So we also need to balance sodium and potassium, and we'll talk about that later on as well. Salt is in, or sodium is found in salt, some animal and plant sources, but it's mostly those sources that are around salt. So stuff like fish. It regulates fluids, muscle, and nerve impulses. Potassium, banana, potato, dairy, meats, legumes, regulates fluid and muscle and nerve impulses. So, electrolyte balance, calcium and magnesium. General recommendation is 2-1. Chronometer will help you find these recommended RDA values. High calcium, low magnesium can result in muscle cramps. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce that, and calcification of soft tissues. So yeah, this is why tracking on chronometer can be very helpful, especially if you're a gym bro, pounding like gallons of milk and stuff like that, which used to be popular. It's very easy to get way too much calcium and not enough magnesium, which can lead to some pretty dangerous side effects. Low calcium and high magnesium, way less common, maybe more common in vegan lifters. Muscle weakness, hypotension, abnormal nerve function. If you're deficient in both, osteoporosis, neuromuscular issues, and cardiovascular problems. Balancing sodium and potassium. This one's a 1-1 recommendation. High sodium and low potassium is hypertension, fluid retention, and cardiovascular disease. This is kind of the typical American diet. Not a ton of veggies, maybe really fatty meats, loading up on salt. Low sodium, this may be again the vegan kind of area of dieting and culture. Confusion, seizures, and coma. So low sodium is very dangerous. Cutting out salt is not super smart. This is hyponatremia, and if you notice, this is a more extreme result. So we don't want to fully cut out sodium. Let's just keep it balanced with potassium. Low potassium, hypokalemia, muscle weakness, arrhythmias, and fatigue. And then high potassium, hyperkalemia, heart arrhythmias, and muscle paralysis. So again, if you hear about bodybuilders collapsing, having heart issues, a lot of the times, yes, steroids can enlarge the heart, which gives you problems over time. But a lot of the people dying at shows and stuff like that, in the enhanced sphere, are trying to manipulate the sodium potassium balance, and a lot of them are having heart attacks and stuff like that. It's very dangerous to play around with sodium and potassium in extreme levels. So we're going to really shoot to keep these balanced again, which is why I recommend an app like Chronometer. Kind of takes the anxiety out of it, helps us track. And again, which is the nice thing with salt too is if you're over salted and you take in lots of water and you have an adequate amount of potassium, you'll pee out the excess. So we don't have to worry too much about sodium, especially when you're on a lower calorie, lower carb diet. Maybe in the off season, if you're trying to, or if you're in a gaining phase, it might be worthwhile to watch your salt intake. But especially when you are on low carb, you're not going to have those carbs keeping around water. So you're going to maybe need to actually bring in more salt because you'll be also excreting more and not holding on to as much. Moving on, some other minerals. We'll fly through these because I'm not super educated on these individually. I'm not going to pretend I am. You do a deeper dive. But here are just some quick sources and functions for each of these. We'll fly through them. Iron, fish, dark meat, leafy greens, nuts, seeds. Functions, oxygen transport, cognition, and metabolism. Zinc, meat, dairy, seafood, legumes, nuts, seeds as sources, and functions. So zinc is actually one of the most important. They're used in 300 enzymatic functions in the body, which is crazy. But it's probably most known for its immune and skin health. And again, Chronometer will help us track these, which is an awesome feature of Chronometer. Again, I'm not partnered with them. I just love their app and highly recommend because we can track all these things and kind of keep tabs on them. Manganese, nuts, seeds, grains, greens, legumes, fruit. Functions, it helps in metabolism, bone health, and an antioxidant. Copper, sources, fish, liver, poultry, leafy greens, cocoa, and its functions are blood cell, energy, and tissue formation. Some other minerals, selenium, found in Brazil nuts, fish, eggs. Its functions, antioxidant defense, and thyroid function. Phosphorus is found in meat, dairy, fish, nuts. Functions, bone and teeth, energy production. And again, like a cool reason to go through all these is if you're having a trouble in one of these areas, you can kind of go through these and see, okay, which of these minerals and vitamins or macronutrients is important for stuff like brain function, what's important for immune response, what's important for bone and teeth repair and building. Again, plug-in Chronometer, they break all those down into those sections as well. So again, these are fun to go through at least once. Iodine, it's an iodized salt, seafood, dairy. Functions, it's important for thyroid production and metabolism. Chromium, it's found in meat, whole grains, and broccoli, and it's good for blood sugar regulation and metabolism. So it's very overwhelming, I bet. Some of my highlights, summary, don't skip whole food groups. If you skip whole food groups, you could be leaving out some very important nutrients. Eat a variety of food sources. A really good recommendation is have a variety of colors on your plate. Like we talked about, some of the common vitamin A things are orange. Some of the common vitamin C and K are green. Some of the common antioxidants are kind of purple, blue. So keep a variety of fruits and vegetable colors throughout your weeks so that we're not getting deficient in any of these areas. To make it easy, use an app. The best that I know is Chronometer that tracks these for very cheap, or you could get blood work done just to see where your deficiencies are. And then you could supplement your deficiencies, which will bring us to module 6.